Waveney and you're viewing Wavelength. So I hope you enjoyed the video that I did last week Wednesday on the topic of leadership. I really hope that it resonated with you, that you had a few takeaways, that you shared it with someone who needed it. And if you are viewing these videos and you're nowhere close to being a manager or supervisor, or you don't even want to be, that's okay, because you can still glean and take away stuff that you can use to make you successful in your role, in your career, and even in your personal life. Because a lot of the concepts in management and at work really spills over in our personal lives. And if you are hearing birds chirping and you're looking at this beautiful scenery, I'm here at Pam's Court. For those of you who are not residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, it's a really beautiful place, really, really nice. For those of you who've been looking at my videos as well, or if you don't know, if you're just tuning in, I really like the outdoors. I feel a sense of aliveness when I'm outside in a beautiful setting. So as much as possible, I'll try to do these videos outdoors. Okay, so let's jump into the topic for today. So today, I wanted to touch on a leadership trait that is, ooh, that's noisy, isn't it? I wanted to touch on a leadership trait that is very important. It's one of, I feel, the key foundational traits of any leader or anybody, right? And that is integrity. Lots of people feel like integrity is right or wrong, and it's not so much right or wrong, but there are different avenues and different ways that the value of integrity can show up in our personal lives as well as work related. And so I'd like to touch on that. So let's jump into what integrity is. So integrity, and there are many different definitions, but this is the definition I've chosen to work with, is doing the right thing or taking the right action or behavior, right? So it's doing the right thing or taking the right action or behavior even when no one is looking, as well as even if there isn't anything for you to gain. So let me say that again. Integrity is doing the right thing and taking the right actions or behaviors even when no one is looking, and even if there isn't any immediate gain for you. So there may not be a monetary gain, there may not be the gain of somebody seeing you and praising you for what you did, but I believe that we have to define and do some self-reflection on how we want, the type of person that we want to be in this world. And this has nothing to do with how we grew up or what people have said about us, but who do you really want to be in this world? What type of legacy you want to leave? And you don't have to be rich and wealthy to leave a legacy, but ordinary people, everyday people, average people, whatever you want to call it, everybody leaves a legacy. Everybody leaves traces behind. And so you really need to ask yourself, who do I want to be, right? And so having integrity is one of those ways in which we can leave a great lasting legacy if it's done right, whether it's in our jobs or in our personal lives. So a powerful question to ask yourself is, does your behavior increase trust? Because integrity is about trust. So as a leader, I feel like, or as a person, we should be asking ourselves this question quite constantly. Does my behavior at work, at home, does it increase trust? Do people trust me? Because people can only trust you based on your actions. Nobody is inside your head. We're not God. We're not the angels. We're not the universe. So we don't know what you're thinking, but we know what you're thinking by your actions. So does my actions, does my behavior increase trust? And so I wanted to touch on 3 tips that deals with integrity, and these are ways in which you can show integrity or not show integrity, right? So the first tip is commitment, and this is something that I feel is often overlooked. And what is commitment? A commitment is really doing what you say you're going to do. So you may ask, well, how does this show up? Well, let's use a very basic example at work. If you're supposed to be working for 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, right, and you're always late, and I'm not talking about the one-offs, I'm talking about you have an issue, you're just late. How is that showing integrity? How are you showing that? You are not keeping your commitment to your employer. You're not keeping your commitment to your team, right? If you're a leader or supervisor, you're not setting a great example. You're not being committed. Another example can be your daily to-dos or your daily work, right? If you go into a job and you know what you're supposed to do, but half the time you're on social media, next half you're just not doing anything, you're distracting others, you're not being productive, you're not keeping your commitment. And these types of behaviors, yes, they may be simple, and it's almost always amazing because people think that they can suddenly switch off bad habits, but you can't. So if you're listening to this video and you have a tendency to be late, or if you have a tendency to waste time at work, you may want to change that behavior if you want to be successful, because those habits spill over in other things, areas in your life and in your, in your career. Sorry. And as a leader, I feel like whether you were told this, whether it was discussed with you or not, I feel like when you're in the role of a supervisor, a manager, a business owner, are you developing your people? That's another way of showing your commitment. Are you developing them? I feel like leaders, this is something that they are tasked to do. So if you recognize that your team needs training, are you calling up the people's brand? Are you calling up Waveney and saying, hey, my team is deficient in this. Can you come and speak to them? I have to put that plug in there, just so you know. But are you looking out for their well-being? Are you coaching them in the moment? Are you developing your people? So your overall commitment shows your integrity as well, or lack of, right? The other thing that speaks to integrity is, are you saying yes when you really want to say no? Or are you saying yes when you know this is not possible, or this outcome, can't happen? Just saying yes, yes, yes. Are you being disingenuous? Are you not telling the truth? That also speaks to commitment, and that also ultimately impacts your integrity, and it doesn't increase trust. All right. So the next tip I want to talk about is trading favors and shortcutting processes. And this can happen if you're in a job that maybe offers services, or you have access to information or whatever, right? And people may approach you. For example, someone may approach you, it has happened to me, may approach you about influencing a contract. So it looks like this. They'll say, if you do X, Y, and Z, then I'll do this. If you do that, I'll do this, right? those types of scenarios, whether they're offering you money, whether they're offering you a huge discount, whether they're giving you a ticket to the St. Kitts Music Festival, right? Um, Trading favors. And I want to say, just stay away from that, walk away from it. When that person had approached me with that initial, if you influence this contract, then I'll give you, a percentage, I was like, I cannot do this. There was even no second thought, no thinking about it. It was just not something that I was willing to do and put myself in. And so these are the types of things that you have to start thinking about, because when you least expect it, they may pop up on you. And so your answer should be always no. I'm sorry, right? You have to do the right thing. You have to, you know. Um, at the end of the day, if nobody finds out, you have to live with yourself. You have to, you know, you have to deal with you. And people make mistakes, but again, it goes back to what type of person do you want to be? What type of person do you want to be? Outside of external influences, what type of person do you really want to be? So trading favors and also shortcutting processes. So I'm a fan of being efficient, and I think that on a regular basis, businesses and employees constantly need to look at what they do in their daily work and find ways to either shorten the process or be more efficient, faster, more effective way of doing it. And this does not mean that you skip steps that are mandatory, that is an absolute must. For example, if you need a particular signature on something that you have to, for me in my primary job, it's there's certain things that in HR that we need, documents that we need for new hires, and there's certain ones that we cannot skimp on. And although we may be able to, be flexible with certain things in terms of timing, those documents are absolutely required, right? So be careful of shortcutting processes, especially if they have a larger impact, especially if they have a financial impact. You always hear, I don't know if you have, but shortcuts lead to hell. So I believe in that. So we have to be very careful of shortcuts. Efficiency, great, but if it's just you being lazy, then no. All right, we don't do lazy at the people's back. So the third point I want to make on this is speaking up when information is shared about someone that is false, or maybe something that is false. And this is important because this can impact people's perception and their reputation in their career, and that is important. For example, perception in careers, at jobs. Do you know anyone that looks busy all the time? Like they're super busy. Can you help me with this? No, I'm really busy. They have a million things to do. Everything is laid over their desk. They look like they're just, they're in the groove. You may even get envious and be like, damn, I want to be like them. I want to be that efficient. But really and truly, they're not really producing. They're not being productive. It's just all a show. I've worked with people like that. There's an art in it. I laugh at it, but that is a perception that they've created, and in perception is sometimes reality, for persons looking in. And so if you're in a forum that, or group, or wherever you are, or meeting, and persons are sharing information that is malicious, that is not true, maybe it isn't malicious, maybe they have it to be the truth about something or someone, and it has a great impact on their career or personal life, then I feel like you have a responsibility to say, maybe that's not the truth. Or you may not be able to go into details, and those situations can be tricky, but know that I'm generalizing. You have a responsibility to say something, right? You do, because it can have an impact. And in my role in human resources, I've had that being done to me. You find particularly with disgruntled employees, when there's some people, if they don't like something or if they disagree with something, they take it to a next level. And it's okay to disagree with things that, that go on at work. I mean, you're not a robot. You are gonna have some things that you don't like, and that's okay. It's how you express it and what you do with it. So in my example, what had happened was there was this one employee at one of my jobs that came, and we had introduced something that some people needed to sign, and they did not agree with it, and we kind of spoke about it, but at the end of the day they were being really defensive, combative. They were being like, I don't care, whatever, and it was getting ridiculous, right? And I kind of shut down the conversation. What that person did was, in a few weeks after, we had a visit, like a regional visit, and they went into that meeting and they said things that were not nice about me, and I got the feedback, and eventually I had to work through it because I'm human, and it pissed me off. I worked through it, but I say that to say it's important that when you hear things, that you speak up on behalf of those that are not present, and that is also having integrity. It's like sitting there and you know that something isn't true, and you just sit there and agree to it, or you may not openly say you agree, but you might just sit there. And so I think that's important. So just to recap, we have 3 tips that shows integrity that you can look at, I mean, in your own personal life and career. Number 1 is commitment, doing what you say you're gonna do, and that could be down to the simplest thing, doing what you say you're gonna do. Okay. Number 2 is trading favors and shortcutting processes. Just make sure you're not doing that. And number 3 is speaking up when the information shared is false. And so I'd really love to hear your comments. As usual, share with someone that may need to know this. Send me an email, hellowaveney@thepeoplebrandskn.com, and leave a comment below. Leave an emoji below. If you don't want to comment, leave an emoji below and let me know what you think of the video. Feedback is important. I'd love to hear what you think, and I will see you next week on another Wavelength Wednesday with me, Ruth.